banking strategy that everybody said would kill my ATM business, actually it was the strategy that helped grow my ATM business from 3 accounts to 8 profitable ATM accounts. And it goes against every principle in the ATM business. I had 3 ATMs, but I reached an ATM plateau. I couldn't grow my business any further. See, back then, each ATM cost me $6,000. I put $5,000 in ATM. So to add an ATM was going to cost me about $11,000. Every ATM that I wanted to add cost me $11,000. And we were growing the business and we had opportunity, but I couldn't grow the business fast enough because I didn't have enough money. I know a lot of you guys out there reach the same situation when you're growing your ATM business. I also started the ATM business with one bank account. So every time I was getting the surcharge money was going into the one account. I was also putting my vault cash money into that account, and I was writing my checks out of there for general expenses. And it was hard to manage the money because every time that an expense came up, I was writing it out, then I ran short on the money that I was supposed to put in the ATM. I was constantly robbing Peter to pay Paul, as they say. And I couldn't figure out, well, how do I grow this business if I'm always cannibalizing it to pay expenses? I also, with one checking account, all I could see is the expenses, and I couldn't see any of the trends. I didn't know if we was making money or we weren't making money, and I was constantly running short. To make things worse is we had a 3-day holiday coming up, and the holiday was on Friday, which means that the bank is closed on Friday. Also means that the federal funds money moves. It'll move on Thursday. It's not going to move on Friday. Banks are open on Saturday, but the Fed money doesn't move on Saturday. So I didn't have any money Friday, didn't have any money Saturday. Bank is closed on Sunday. I wasn't going to get the money until Monday. So now I'm faced with I have to fill the ATMs up. I don't have the money. And what do I do? This was all caused by not knowing how to manage my funds properly and allocating enough money for the weekend and the big holiday. Now, how I got through that was I was able to take enough money from one ATM and manipulate it and put it into the other 2 and spread out my funds. And that gave me the idea, how can I do this on a regular basis? So that gave me the banking foundation principle. 2 bank accounts, one for vault cash, one for checking. This allows you to start seeing trends. What I did is I just had my general checking account. That's where I wrote checks out of. And then I had my vault cash account. I didn't touch my vault cash money. It all went into one account. This way I could start to see trends from the ATMs. What ATMs went in through more money on what kind of basis. And then I could start to track how much money they went through in a given amount of time. And then what I could do is I could flip the ATMs. So let's give you an example. Let's say I had 4. One week I filled these 2, and the other week I filled these 2. What I was doing before is I was filling all 4 in 1 week, and then I had cash in and then cash out, cash in, cash out. What I was able to do is take a 25% reduction in my cash. The other thing I started doing is I started doing cash swaps. Why would you do that? I'm the only one touching the money. But this gave me clear transparency of how much money we went through. Also with the ATM portal, I could quickly calculate how much money was left in the ATMs, and I could see it not only week by week, but month by month. And I could track a little easier how much money to put in. I could minimize the amount of money that we had in the ATMs, and I could minimize the money that was going to be left on the street. This way I could maximize the amount of money, and I could stretch it thinner, but still manageable because I could see it. So basically no cash adds. So when you're in the ATM business, sometimes you're adding, I'm going to add $2,000, $4,000, $5,000. What we did is we swapped it out. We took the money out, put a fresh batch in, and that way we created a par value every single time. And then from there, we could say, oh, our par value is 5,000 and there was 2,000 left in the ATM. I'm going to bring it down. I went $500 at a time. And then that way you can clearly manage your cash outlay a lot easier when you're in the ATM business. Again, stretching how much cash you have on the street. This allows you to go into growth mode. So what you do is you start to stretch the money when you're in growth mode. And then you say, okay, I'm going to grow maybe 1 ATM or 2 ATMs. I'm going to stretch the money, go thin, and then you start build up your cash reserves to wherever threshold that you feel comfortable with. And then at that time, you say, okay, now I'm going to go back into growth mode, and you can stretch the money again. And this way, it'll allow you to grow 1 or 2 or 3 ATMs at a time, whatever you feel comfortable with, that you don't stretch too thin, but you know your cash thresholds and you know what you're comfortable with. That way, you don't have too much of a growth mode and you don't have not enough of growth mode. You know where you're at, and you can grow it however fast or slow you want, depending on your comfortability level. And what I try to do is reduce the cash about 25% to get me to thin mode, and then build that cash reserve up, and then go to, or I'm very comfortable, and then back to thin mode again. And this helps you grow your ATM business slow and steady, like we always talk about, but gives you a comfort level for your ATM growth. So then I took it a step further, is I went to 3 bank accounts, one for your general checking account, one for your surcharge amount, and then when your vault cash. And then the surcharge is what I did is I split that and I put 50% into the checking account, general checking account for my expenses, and then I took 50% and put it in my vault cash. And then I was growing my vault cash on a monthly basis, up until I got comfortable again in that, get it back to that par value where I was comfortable. And then we started the whole process all over again. And then keep in mind, I also was able to move the vault cash money up or down per ATM, depending on how they went through the money. Now, in the ATM business, there's different cycles. Maybe one quarter, they have more cash needs than another quarter, and then you can grow in different arenas. So maybe for summer, we went through more money in some ATMs, and other ATMs we didn't go through. So we also had different types of locations. So maybe in the bar and restaurant, they went through more money in the fall, in the winter, in the spring. In the summer, they didn't go through as much money. And we had other locations that went through more money in the summer. So we were able to move some of that money into different arenas to utilize to the best of our ability. The cash on the street can make or break you. Don't let it break you. Another thing that we did is we also started planning to fill the ATM just ahead of the busy time. So if the ATMs are busy on the weekends, we started filling ATMs on Thursday or Friday just ahead of the busy weekend. That way, we know that there's a big influx of cash on the weekends. The weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, were a little lighter. So it wasn't a big deal if they started running lean on those days. I would be able to fill them up if they got close to running money. But on the weekends, that's when the ATMs were busier and the banks were closed. So it made it easier that I was filling towards the end of the weekend instead of at the beginning of the week. And again, I'm splitting. I had 4 ATMs or 3 ATMs. I would split, fill these 2 one week, this one another, or 2 and 2. And I try to split the route to evenly divide my cash constraints. This system allows me to scale easier my cash needs by 25%. Then I rose to that threshold again and then started in growth mode again. When I first started out, I was filling all the ATMs in 1 week. And then what I learned is I would split the route evenly to help balance that cash threshold and help balance those cash needs. And then rinse and repeat as you want to grow. You'll take it down 25%, you get up to that par value again, then you can grow again. This gives you a clearer path towards ATM success and growing your business. After implementing the cash strategy, I was able to grow from 3 to 4, 4 to 6, and then 6 to 8. Now, I didn't go from 3 to 8 right away, but I grew from 3 to 4, 4 to 6, and then 6 to 8. And then so what I did is I ran lean for a little, grew the cash reserves up, ran lean, grew cash reserves up, ran lean, cash reserves up. Continued to grow that in my business. Throughout the 25 years, we did rinse and repeat that cycle. It's been a success, and hopefully it'll be a success for you too. The ATM business can be a great business, but it's all about using the tools you have. If you're thinking about getting an ATM business, click the link down below and start your ATM journey today. Again, this is Phil from the ATM Mastermind Group page, where we buy your freedom back 1 transaction at a time.